We are back. San Francisco Giants baseball, past, present, and future. I'm Ralph Tyko with the Comfortably Zoned Radio Network, and Michael Duca, the host, is on assignment. This is kind of interesting. We got a former bat boy pinch hitting for an official score. Patrick Quinlan, welcome back to these airwaves.
I'm honored to be with you, Ralph. How are you, sir?
Well, the honor is mine. You're terrific. And I can't wait to hear what you think about the Giants, but what's going on, Longoria acquired. But first, a little happy birthday, Willie Mack. That's pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah, that we could do this.
8-0. 8-0. What a milestone.
Whoa, that he's 80 years old, because I so vividly remember 1959 when he came up and how he went crazy off of Robin Roberts. Hit a couple of triples, this, that, and the other thing. I was 13 years old. The fact that he's 80 makes me an old geezer.
No.
But he's not. He's got the heart of a youngster, and he prevails. Poor Willie has had some tough times physically over the last few years with his knees. He's had some botched knee replacements. Can you elaborate on that?
You know, he was one of those tough luck guys. I mean, he had those problems since he was a teenager. And
with
how he was able to play, how he was able to play, you know, in 4 decades and 521 homers. And, you know, he never really played every day. And he was such a battler with incompetent surgeries. Then they fixed him, tried to make him better. And how he was so strong, especially with that body type. I mean, we're talking about a big 6'4", lean, always in shape, strong, right. Country strong, you know, just a really massive man in Major League Baseball history. And what rotten luck, but he stayed so positive, and he was so healthy. I mean, he really took care of his body.
You never hear him complaining or anything,
no.
And I'm so sorry that he doesn't get to play the game, the second game of his life, which was golf. He loved to go out there with Davenport and Lonnie Simmons and
Bobby Bonds. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that he's so incapacitated now is really sad. But you know, when you see him, he's upbeat. He smiles. He, like I say, he never complains. And there are guys that complain over hangnails. You know, so let's wish him a happy birthday, all the Giants fans out there and all the baseball fans out there. Appreciate the awesomeness of Willie Mack.
Well, he was so classy. I mean, he was really so comfortable in his skin, and excuse me, Ralph, and he just had a way about him that was like no other. I mean, there's other guys
right.
like Billy Williams or Tony Gwynn. There's so many class act guys. You know, he knew how blessed he was, but he was so kind and gracious and thoughtful, and just the way he walked, he was so cool. That
tell me how he was to a bat boy. I mean, I'd love to hear your experiences. And you were a bat boy with the Giants, and you got to know these guys in a way that to be inside a locker room where nothing is said that's supposed to leave there, this, that, and the other thing. Getting to know these guys had to be absolutely awesome as a kid. Your first memories of Willie, and how was he to you?
Well, he was just superior. I mean, I don't think, you know, when people talk about great athletes and they'll say about to tell in the career. They go to the Hall of Fame and all these great accolades and achievements and awards and merits and all that great stuff, is going to say you'll never hear anybody talk any ill or anything negative about Willie McCovey ever. And he was pleasant to me the first time I met him, because I knew by that time, because I already had a year under my belt, 2 years under my belt, and he came in 77, 78. So I already had a good year under my belt my first year in 76, because I was there 76 and 79. So I had him for 2 years and 3 years. And the first time I greeted him, I just introduced myself. So I knew it was a good time to go up when he first came to the ballpark. And from that point on, I just said, if there's anything else I can do for you or to assist, well, thank you very much. I'll keep that in mind, with that great Alabama draw. And
right.
So I made a point that most shoes back in the day in baseball history, Ralph, that the shoes were done with saddle soap. So you grab a can of saddle soap with a soiled sponge, and you'd go around and shine 1 to 2 shoes, depending on if players use shoes for BP and then have their gamers for the game, or just use one pair. So a lot of players it was probably half and half or so. So anyways, but Mac, I knew that I'm going to shine his shoes. He didn't have to tell me, because he's a Hall of Famer. I'm going to take the time to do his
right.
shoes last. He wore 2 shoes, and he was a Puma guy. So I would sit there diligently for 20 minutes. I'm the last guy out of the clubhouse every day, and I'm going to get the kiwi and a fresh sanitary in this therapeutic moment. And the lockers back then were like little mini studios, and the players really had privacy. Now they're all wall lockers. I just don't like them. And it was really cool to see the players have their privacy. Anyways, I would sit there in McCovey's locker, take both of his shoes, clean off all the dirt, wipe them down with a nice sudsy towel, and get off all the dirt and shine, almost like shine the spikes almost, and then start buffing his shoes to a perfect shine without any of that black kiwi being on the Puma stripe, orange stripe. So every time he would come in, I would have those right in front of his locker on purpose, by design. And then I'd watch him look at those, and then he'd bend down and kind of move them a little bit, and he would see that shine, and I knew that
you were
he was
pleasing him.
smiling, that he was happy, because he knew I put an effort to make him look classy.
Wow.
So he will never forgive me for that, and he was always kind to me about that, because he knew I did that. So it was like that for Endless. And then, of course, when the great year that he went for 500 career homers in 78, and hit it on the road against a lefty from Atlanta, Jamie Easterly. Well, that year, about a month in or so, he had his Puma rep make orange T-shirts for all the players. So 500 for 44 was the front of the T-shirt with the Puma in between the 500 for 44, in between his number and 500, top to bottom there. And then on the back would be the player's number and nickname. So Madlock was Mad Dog, Gary Lavelle was Pudge, John Lemaster was Bones, Ed Halicki was Ho-Ho, and so on. I mean, every player basically had a nickname. Well, when he was
Isn't it interesting that baseball this year did something where they put nicknames on everybody's, on the back, on these special uniforms?
That was the best.
Wasn't that cool?
That was the best. And so, because I knew at some point, well, I didn't know that, but when I found out about it, I was really excited about it. But, so Mac helped me go around with the clipboard and get every player, coach, and manager. And then on the bottom, he goes, now put you down and put a high available number, because I was going to take a low number. He actually took care of the Batboys. And I couldn't believe it was out of body. Then when those T-shirts came in 3 weeks, I helped him distribute all those T-shirts to every player. And then he goes, you don't think I forget about you, did I? And I'm all, what are you talking? I'm asking myself, what are you talking about? I'm not asking you for nothing. And then I have mine, and I posted it on Facebook today. I have mine that he issued to me. He issued me.
You still have it, no doubt.
And I found that, Ralph, about a year ago. I know I hid it somewhere, and I found it and immediately got it framed. But that's the type of human being he was. Like, it's not about hitting a baseball. It's about how great he was as a human. He's a great human being. He's just a great class human being that is just not caught up, and he's so humble.
Wow.
You know, so just blessed. So, but yeah, that was a great time.
Patrick, I'm so glad to hear your words and listen to your passion about the man on his birthday, and we can publish this later on today.
Oh, sure.
Happy birthday, Willie. And
happy birthday, Willie.
Yeah, that's and many, many more. Let's wish him for that. Yeah, wish him for that, because anymore, I joked about being an old geezer. I'm like 10 years younger. 70 is the new, 68. But, you know, it's not like it used to be. And people are living well into their 80s and keeping it going into their 90s, really. So, best to you, Willie Mack. And let's segue a little bit to today's Giants. This last few weeks have been very exciting. We're all kind of getting used to the idea of having an all-star Golden Glove third baseman anchor the infield. What was your impression of getting Longoria?
I thought it was a great acquisition. They had to step it up. You know, there's other third basemen that were available that I think they could have went out and get, but they really needed to get a really established Gold Glover, an average guy, homer guy. You know, he's had a off year last year, Gold Glove. That gives the Giants probably their best infield in history. Oh, that's a beautiful thing. I mean, I'm
and he's going to be surrounded by a little bit more punch than he had in Tampa Bay.
And Ralph, he comes to a 3-time World Series club, you know, just recently, and he's going to be playing in front of 41,000 every night outside in Northern California. He's from SoCal. This is a beautiful thing. That's great. Good for Bobby. Good for the Giants. It's awesome. People will love watching him play, and he'll wear, you know, number 10 because, of course, Bill Terry had number 3, and that was his number. But I just love everything about the guy. Character guy, you know, just fits.
Yeah, I'm a numbers guy. I wonder where, as you say, Bill Terry's numbers retired. He was a New York Giant, was Bill Terry.
Good knowledge.
And the San Francisco Giants, hats off to them. They honor the old New York Giants in every which way, much, much more so than the Mets honor their previous players, their own Hall of Famers. There's no statue in front of Citi Field for Gil Hodges, which is disgraceful. But yet there is for Jackie Robinson, who, as great as he was and as much as he meant to baseball and as much honoring as he needs, Citi Stadium really isn't the place for him to be honored. But that's another story. Hats off to the Giants for honoring their past, because the New York is where they came from, and if you go out to AT&T, they've got a wall of former players from the Giants where they honor New York Giants. So it's terrific that the tradition continues. And I'm curious where, being a numbers freak, uniform numbers freak, why he chose number 10, or was that arbitrary? Was that something Logan I don't think Logan's assigning numbers anymore.
I think Alan Lee now, I think.
Okay.
He's the new clubby, I think, a guy named Alan Lee. He was new, the new regime from last year. Everybody's new now. I think that was just a good, solid infielder's number that was available. Like, he looked at single digits, and he just figured, 10 was solid because of Matt Williams probably, and just a real solid number. I want to research that. Maybe he had 10 when he was in high school,
Right.
But, a lot of those single digits weren't available, and 10 was always the closest to it. Like Matt Williams had 9 and went to 10. So he'll look good in that Giant uniform, that's for sure. What did you think about the acquisition?
I thought it was terrific. I really did.
Awesome.
I think, when I think of what a guy's going to do next year, I look at the back of his baseball card, what he's done. And, you hear a lot of hype about people coming up, this, that, and the other thing. Basically, you can count, when you see a ball player, what he's done is what he's going to do. There's going to be variations. There can be years he has off. But if you average his last 5 years, you're pretty much, given the fact that he's not over the hill age-wise.
Right.
You don't have to worry about that. And you know what I like about him? He's had no physical injuries to speak of, which because oftentimes one injury leads to another. You're rehabbing, you hurt your right hip, your left ankle's going to go bad, etc. And you don't have to look at him as being on the downward spiral just yet. I think they made a terrific deal. And more than that, character-wise, he was the heart of that clubhouse. He had the character to take an ad out in the paper in Tampa Bay and thank the fans, this, that, and the great acquisition. That's what I thought.
Yes, sir. Let's go. Come on.
All right. So let's go play some ball. What do you do to satisfy your baseball Jones in the wintertime?
Well, you know what, Ralph? This has been an odd year because it's been so slow with the free agencies and the movement. I mean, every day, I'm watching MLB Network, and it's like it's always fun to watch the network and all that great stuff. And then I'll check my phone all the time with MLB transactions, and I mean, it's so. You go to the rumor mill, all that great stuff. And here it is. I saw a thing the other day, 133 or something like that free agents when they first declared, and only like 20% have signed.
Right.
Like, we're waiting for
I'm a Met fan, and it's interesting that I go through the same process and that the Giants and the Mets are always looking, this year anyway, at the same free agents. Longoria would have been a terrific sign for the Mets.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, well, the Giants are my second team, so but it does open the door for the Mets. I think Todd Frazier's going to be the guy that they eventually sign. That's right. I don't think they're going to come up to Masakis's, and I know I'm not
demand
that, right? Yeah, they're not. He makes too much money. That's not going to be.
And see, this is what, and people don't want to give an Arrieta, a Yu Darvish. They don't want to give these 6-year contracts that these guys want, 5-6-year contract for 100 plus, because they're, so everything is so stalled. So you just read your periodicals, you read online, read your Baseball America, your SIs, and you just go online. This new feature now online, The Athletic, which is wonderful. Have you read any of those guys yet? Athletic site?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Getting all the best writers. So that's about it, Ralph. You don't get to see press conferences. You don't get to see 5 signings today. You know, I mean, I love
right.
that.
Right.
I love
Do
that
you play
onslaught where,
simulation ball, that kind of thing, computer baseball, in the off season to get that gaming thing in? I do on a regular basis.
Oh, you do? No, I want to research that. I mean, every now and then I'll play with some old school friends, some Stratomatic, and I love the
right.
advanced version. But no, I want to check that out. I think that would be cool.
Check it out. There are a number of games out there, Diamond Mine, baseball. You can construct leagues. I'll tell you the one that I use is Baseball Mogul. Check that out first. It gives you the flexibility of designing.
Baseball Mogul.
Baseball Mogul. M-O-G-U-L. You can play it in any manner. You can play it with the financing. You can build a team and a franchise. You can play teams again, or you don't have to use the money part of it. You can play teams of any. They have every team available, so you could build a league with. I'll tell you my league, the league I play. I play the 1954 Giants is in my league. The 1962 Giants is in my league. The 1963 Dodgers, the 1955 Dodgers, the 58 Braves, the 61 Reds, the 60 Pirates, the 69 Cubs, the 64 Phillies, the 64 Cardinals, and if I'm leaving any team out, I apologize to everybody that needs my apology for anything.
That's awesome.
Is that awesome? And they play each other.
That's awesome.
And I will play. It's 10 teams, including all of them are it's one franchise each, except the Giants and Dodgers have 2 franchises, the 62 and 63, and the 54 and 55. 54 Giants, 55 Dodgers. So, and they play each other. It keeps statistics. It writes little stories about the games. It's absolutely fantastic, and it will keep your little baseball mind going all through it. Plus, it plays out as a pretty good. It doesn't have all the bells and whistles of the games that you can buy through Xbox and what have you, but it makes up for it in the statistics that it keeps. It keeps statistics of every game, ongoing statistics through the year, box scores. It's absolutely incredible. So I will highly recommend that to you. That should help get you through the winter. And I'll send you a link. I'll send you a link to an old game. The one I'm using is you won't have to buy it. I'll just send you the link. It's an old game, but statistics through like 2011 or something like that. So
awesome.
Beautiful.
Awesome.
Yeah. Now, I want to know from you, see, we trade off here. I want giant information of who's coming up in the farm system that has impressed you as a future giant, maybe somebody who can make an impact this year. I know there's Dugars out there, and
yep.
Giants look like they need a center fielder. Do you think he can make the jump?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. But you know what? They're going to go into spring training. This is what's exciting. I mean, number one, Giant fans is like, so many people, chill out. Number one, chill out. You got 3 World Series in a short amount of time. I mean, I after 2002, Ralph, I just was really so down and so sad. I'm going someday in our life, just one to taste it. All of a sudden, Posey and Company 3 and 5. Sabian. I
Right.
mean, I just talk about feeling like a Yankee fan. And all of a sudden, you have this bad year. I mean, last year was really panic mode. It's just, it was really interesting about how the front office responded after they lost 98, after Will Smith goes down and Mad Bomb has his little episode, which is unacceptable, and Melanson. I mean, it was just a trickle effect. It was just, that's what happens when you lose 98. And anybody
Did
out
you
there
ever think that Righetti would not be the pitching coach?
No, because he's so good and he's born and raised here. It's just a no-brainer. He's part of the Steve Kerr staff. You know, he would leave on his own terms, and he's a young guy. And it's like, it's just how the Giants roll. It's like when you look at all the great Red teams or Dodger teams, you know, when Tommy had Red Adams and Peronofsky and all his, all the coaching staff, and you know, a lot of these teams, Sparky, all these managers would have Art Fowler with Billy. You'd be there forever. So all
hey,
of a
Patrick,
sudden,
I sold insurance with Red Adams' son in Santa Rosa in the 80s. Now, how's that?
Oh, that's crazy.
Right? Huh?
Good man. Yeah, you know.
That was a long time ago in my life. Let me tell you.
Wow, right? I mean, mock speed. But, you know, so now they're in panic mode, and one of my theories is that when all that went down to lose 98, Lester has 12 bombs, Bell has all these concussions. You know, panic was solid. Craw had the loss of his sister-in-law. You know, all these things, and that's what happens. Any team in baseball, when they lose, when you're up there with 80s, you know, high 80s and 90 lost seasons, especially 98. I mean, they're terrible. It's like there's nothing you can do. It's how hard it is, how tough it is, how lucky you are, how fortunate you are. And so now, after the year, they're going, oh my God. What have these other teams been doing since we won in 14? And everybody's evolving. Everybody has saber matrix teams now. They have units that they're hiring now in baseball ops that are, the Giants made these 5 different hires. One of them is offensive prevention. That's what his job is. Defensive position is another guy. All these different specialty coaches now, like when you go to an NFL camp and during the regular season, they have like 85 coaches. Everybody's involved. There's an assistant that's helping out the linebacker coach. There's a coordinator.
Assistant special team coach.
Exactly. Right? So they're panicking in a way. That's what I felt, because here comes Hergis. Here comes Alonzo Powell. Here comes Kurt Young. Here comes Rick Shue. Here comes all these guys, right? They just, you know, like deplete 80% of the staff, right? Because, oh my God, 29 other Fortune 500 companies are doing this and doing that and doing that. We got to do that. So it's what it is. It's what it is. I get it. But I was just kind of blown away. I was like, every day was new moves. Hey, here comes Matt Hergis, AAA with the Dodgers for 3 years. Okay, Matty, former Giant, he was a scrub player. All this stuff, and I'm going, oh, okay, all right, wow. I mean, you know, I don't think you guys need to panic, because you're going to go into next year healthy. You're going to get some guys. You're going to bring back Mad Bomb. He's coming back, of course. Cueto's coming back. Block's coming back. Samardzija's coming back. Get competitive with Stratton and a competitive camp. Bring in Slater. Bring in Mac Williamson again. Bring in Jared Parker. It's theirs to lose. You guys are really lucky to get this opportunity to win a job with this franchise, and then make it competitive for those spots. And then you got to hope that Pence has toned down his off season because he's so intense, and then come in and let's go. Everybody get healthy again.
Yeah, that is, gotta love a guy, not just like him, that plays balls to the wall like Pence. But you gotta say it's a bittersweet trip with him, because he's always playing out of his body. That's the best way I could explain it.
Perfect.
I mean, blowing a hamstring here, right?
He is so reckless abandon. I've never seen a play. I mean, I've seen other players like him, but he is just He's just somebody you love, and then he can just frustrate the heck out of you, but you love him because he's such a winner.
Right. He reminds me in a way of Jason Giambi.
Correct.
A young Giambi when he was playing right field. Not when he was the same way. He just left it out there. You got to love it. But I'll tell you, guys out for 2 or 3 weeks at a time, how much does it help the ball club at that point? So
see, and that's what's hurtful is that when you see that and you just go, God, Hunter, buddy, you know,
exactly.
You know, because you need more production. You know, you're going, Hunter, come on, man, turn on one, catch one. And then you get a comeback or you get an infield hit. And I'm all, dude, you're killing us here.
Right.
You got to knock in runs, dog. So,
right.
You know,
but it's his final
year, so, yeah, so it's his final year. So come on, Hunter, you know, lead strong. You know?
Yeah.
So, but you got a center field and a left field, so compete.
Okay, can you shed some light why Span didn't work out here?
Just an older player. He just got old overnight. I mean, I'd go to games, Ralph, and I'd just study him, and I'm going, that ball's got to be caught, or you got to do something better with that at bat, and I'm all, ouch. And he got paid a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, and his life, they start losing their legs.
Refresh my memory, how did he leave the team? Was he a free agent?
No, they traded him in a Matt Moore deal.
Oh, okay. Oh, there's
no, Longoria deal.
I would have preferred that they kept Matt Moore another year, and because there was no place to go but up, and he's still young. And I thought that, and I really would have preferred them keeping Righetti. And I think a year with Righetti would have helped him. But that's water under the bridge.
Yeah, you know, it's just, and you know what? Talking about Moore, Ralph, I love that acquisition when it happened. And then watching.
Well, I remember Tim Haller, my co-host for a long time on this show, hated that deal. He talked a lot about clubhouse chemistry, how players are human, they're not just machines, they're not just simulation baseball, you know, pick a number, that type of thing, roll the dice. That's not how it is. And how a trade of a player can disrupt the clubhouse to the point where it just ruins your season. And it's ironic that Duffy has not panned out due to injuries in Tampa Bay, and Moore had a horrible second year here. So,
well, it's just, you know, he was the worst starting MLB. And I watched him. It's weird, you know how you can go to during a season, you can go, God, it seems like every time I go to a game, it's Matt Moore pitching. Or every time I go to a game, John Burke is pitching. Or every time I go to a game, it's Mad Mom. You know, it's a trip. And it seemed like I saw Moore throw a lot in person. And you're sitting there keeping the faith going, okay, Matty, start getting a string of starts. Start putting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 qualities together. And he would just get lit up, and his confidence and his body language was so poor. I'm all, buddy, look, here's the deal. You're not playing arena baseball anymore. You're not playing in Tampa Bay, the worst location in the history of Major League Baseball, period. And he comes out to a World Series franchise, 3 in a short amount of time, and he's pitching in front of 41,000 outside in San Francisco. So you talk about pressure, and I think it was overwhelming for him.
Well, you talk. It reminds me of that some players can and some players can't play in
Correct.
New York, for instance. And
right.
San Francisco is a jewel. I mean, you're in this in the stadium that's really the jewel of baseball in the jewel city of the country. So, yes, that pressure could be immense, especially given that they're trying to live up to the 3 years in 5.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you got to like that. They're not just resting on their laurels. Then they didn't just say, well, we're going to rebuild. They had this horrible year. We're going to throw the baby out with the bathwater and, just get all prospects. And so, no, they're looking to stay competitive. The Lungora acquisition is proof of that all along. So I think good, as you say, hey, if you're a Giant fan, nothing to complain about. How long did you live between 1954 and 2000? What was it, 11 when they, or 15 when they won, or whatever it was?
Well, 2010, the first one.
Is it 2010, right?
Yep.
That's a lot of frustration. The 60s when the Giants were, they were finished second maybe 3 or 4 years in a row to the Dodgers, and you had the Cardinals were terrific in those years. The Braves, you had some incredible competition. They were always bridesmaids in the 60s with some unbelievable ball clubs. 5, 6 Hall of Famers, Mays, McCovey on those teams, Marichal, Perry, and yet just frustration year after year. So to win, it's like to win 3 in 5 years. Giants fans can live a long time and have nothing to complain about, the way I say it, the way you express it.
Exactly. And it gets frustrating because everybody's different about when the season starts and during the game, and I get my frustrations when I watch and all that stuff. But, the game's over, and you can't wait for tomorrow because they play every day for 6 months, and it's beautiful and it's magical. But it's a little bit more than that now because the tickets and the season tickets and I've been, the family's been season ticket holders since '68, and it's a lot different now than a $2.50 box seat or a $4.50 box seat and all that stuff.
75 cents in the bleachers, that kind of thing.
Oh God, and now it's $95 for when the Dodgers come in. Where our seats are.
And if anybody out there, and I've said this on other podcasts, if anybody out there wants to say, well, you're an old geese, it's inflation like everything else, it goes up. No, if it were inflation and you pay $2.50 for a box seat 30 years ago, you'd be paying maybe $25 for a box seat today.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that would be inflation as we know it. But in anything else, it doesn't cost you more than 10 times to get your dry cleaning done than it did back in the day. But it costs you 100 times more to take your family to a ball game and buy the crapola that's being sold, the 7 or 8 different caps, and not with the Giants. The Giants are pretty conservative about it. There are teams like Arizona, they have 5, 6 uniforms. They have 5, 6 caps. And kids go, I got to own every cap. Are you kidding me? That's not the and they're $40 a cap. And that's not the point. The point is that kids are talking about other things but the game. That's all. It's just because they don't get to see the game but once or twice a year because who can afford to take a family out? It's $200 to take a family out, a family of four and more, to a game. And here's my other bugaboo, the big game, the World Series, the All-Star game, the big games, they're always played at night. How's a kid going to stay up for that? They don't. They don't get to see it. They don't get to have memories of All-Star games. They don't have to have memories of World Series. And you would say, well, baseball's going great guns. You can't blame what they're doing. They play at night. They get so much more sponsorship. They have to invest in the future. If you took a little out of the profits now and played during the day, played these big games during the day, you develop fans for the future who will, in the future, have memories. That's what makes baseball great, the memories that we all share as fans, and that we could sit around and talk about this, that, and the other thing. Kids won't have it 25 years from now. And
no, it's just sad. It's sad.
Yeah.
I just, it just frustrates me.
I'll ask you to end on an up note.
Yes, sir.
What do you like about change from when you were a kid to the way baseball is now?
Well, I'm so old school, Ralph. I'm such a purist to where, I gave it the DH. I love the DH because I love the players getting work. I love that. But
right.
I love 9 players, the whole thing about no AstroTurf. More teams are going now, most are grass. But I'm just so old school. What I like the best is that it's unbelievable, the players today, bigger, stronger, faster. I mean, I see
right.
stuff that I just go, like what Mike Trout does, what the Harpers do, all these really exciting players of that standard, of that ilk. That's awesome. All these guys throwing 100 million miles an hour. That's unbelievable. I can't even fathom when I see some of these bullpens that every guy out of there throws mid-90s. I mean, when you go to games and you see that close up, you just can't believe these numbers of guys, the volume of pitchers to throw that hard is unbelievable. Another thing I love is that every game's on TV. I love that. Our home teams are on TV.
For me, I'm a radio guy. I get to listen to At Bat and and they have every game, both home and away announcers that you can switch to.
Oh, it's unbelievable. If you get the Dish Network, I think it's Dish that has an agreement with MLB. Dish Network gives you every team, when you sign up for MLB Extra Innings, and I know it's like $200 some, but anyways, you get their, on Dish, I think, or Sony, their home team. So if you subscribe and you're watching, and you're not a Twin fan, but you're going to watch the Twins and White Sox, you can, and especially if they're both going at each other and they've been hot the first month or so out of the chute, you can get their pre and post game. Now, how cool is that? So all that access now and the technology for the junkies like us is absolutely wonderful. All that stuff is wonderful. But when you throw in instant replay, when you throw in other ideas about going to extra innings and implement a runner on second base in the 10th inning, and they're trying to do that in the minor leagues, that now when you start bringing the corporate in and all that crap, no, the instant replay is a joke. And why it's a joke, Ralph, and any pro will tell you that off the record, is because if you have players waiting, the defense is waiting. The pitcher, number one, and the rest of those guys are waiting for a 3-minute result. Are you kidding me?
Hey, how about the fan? It ruins the continuity of the broadcast. I'm a radio guy, and I listen, and these guys don't know how to fill the time because not that they don't know how, it's impossible to fill the time that breaks into the flow of the game. And for a fan to sit there and wait till he's at an out, did the run score, this, that, and the other thing, it's pitiful.
It is pitiful.
Yeah.
It is pitiful because these are pro athletes. The pressures are ungodly because every game's on TV. Everybody's twittering. You go into a press box at any MLB ballpark, and they don't lift their heads up. So all the writers, they're making a living. They're grinding it. The beat writers, the columnists, they're grinding it out. They want to get information and tidbits over my buddy over here. It's competition. I get all that.
Right.
But they gotta twit all this stuff, and it's like it's just all that. That's great, but then it takes away from a lot of the purities, and it's frustrating because when you couple that with the replays and the player, the pitcher having to wait, and Crawford and Posey and all that stuff, it's just hire young badasses, athletes, and train them by great umpire programs, and just continue to try to get better with the human element. I had no problems as a kid. I know you did. If a play went the wrong way in a Giants game, yeah, I'm pissed. But you get over it because the umpire made the call. And when you think about all the calls they make right, it's unbelievable how dead on they are. So if you're going with 96% of balls and strikes or plays at the bases, you're good.
Well, I will disagree with you on the umpiring ability to get, I would say, a ball and strike. If they're getting a ball and strike call 96%, I'll eat my Spalding. I'll just tell you that right off the bat. There are some horrendous ball and strike calls. And
big time.
Yeah, big time. So they've got to do something. And I don't know what they can do. They've tried to stabilize the strike zone, but it becomes an ego thing with the umpire. It's my strike zone. They're very influenced a la Greg Maddux by, reputation. Something's got to be done. And I'll tell you what it is. That prevents it from being done is the umpires' union.
Correct.
They make it very, very difficult for baseball to analyze an umpire.
Exactly.
Because if baseball analyzes an umpire as an umpire really is, they'd have a case to fire him, but for the union. The union will keep an incompetent umpire in baseball for a long time. That's what
it's brutal.
Yeah, and
you
can't blame
really
them
unacceptable.
that they've become kind of an entity unto themselves. Because psychologically, would you like to go to a job where you can do no right? Let's put it that way. You miss a call by a quarter of an inch, you're going to have 25 guys pissed at you. You make the call, you're going to have the other 25 guys pissed at you. And so banding together is what you would expect them to do from a psychological standpoint. But the union is too strong. But not to say the baseball union is not too strong. Anyway, I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
Patrick,
Right.
would you keep coming back to the more often? How about that?
Oh, I'd love to be more involved. Just sometimes the rat race of life sometimes, Ralph. But I would love to be come back and hang.
Yeah, just hang. We talk ball. It's a pretty simple life. I always enjoy your company, and so let's work on you coming back more, and you getting to listen to how I've been closing most of these podcasts of late. I'm imploring folks out there to box up some lightly used children's books and take them to the Head Start program in whatever community you live. Kids need to read, to learn to read, to develop a passion, to take their noses out of their devices for a while, to become school ready, and to change the way this world is going to go through the kids. Because the adults, they've already screwed up. People don't change. You
Gotcha.
get to a certain age, you're not going to, but our hope for society is through the kids. So if you enjoy our offerings, do that. Make it a community effort, and take the books over there. Good idea, Patrick?
Great idea, Ralph.
All right, my friend. You'll come back soon. To the Giants fans out there, another 29 days, and it'll be pitches and catches. How about that?
How about that?
Voting for spring training. Yes, absolutely. I'll remember to send you a link to that game. You won't have to buy it, and you can download it on your computer. You'll get hours of enjoyment out of it. It's Baseball Mogul, and that's my recommendation to get through the hot stove days of winter. Talk next week, everybody. Thank you very much, Patrick. Be well.
Thank you.
Again, happy birthday, Willie Mack.
Happy birthday, Willie Mack.
All right. Talk soon, Q.
Bye-bye.
Bye.